Wake up, Toronto, and happy summer 2023. We are 3/4 of the way through this beautiful season before fall hits us. And if I recall clearly, the last time I broadcasted a segment was back in April, where I think it was mid-spring, but weather-wise, definitely it was still cold with the occasional snow because that's what happens when you live in Canada. Need I say more? But I hope your summer has been fantastic. If we're recapping back a little, we had tornado warnings, numerous thunderstorms, and hail at some point. Heat waves, of course, and it was one of the worst wildfires, I think, ever. So if you remember stepping outside during those times, it was like hazy. There was heavy smoky air going on, and a lot of people who had asthma issues and in general like underlying health conditions, they were gasping for air and coughing. Literally, it was advised to avoid the outdoors for a while until it cleared up, which it did. Now, when the poor air quality advisory went out by Environment Canada and the Weather Network, I gotta tell you guys, I found a bit of a solution. It works for me, but I thought I'd share it with you. And I think a lot of other people thought of it too, because I thought of purchasing an air purifier. And I went to the stores, and guess what, guys? It was sold out in a lot of areas. It was flying off of the shelf, and it was just out of stock. So my husband and I lucked out. We found one online and we got it shipped to us within a couple of days. And let me tell you, boy, oh boy, does it make a huge difference. So I barely went out during the advisory. I think it was only for like groceries, picking it up, and watering the garden. Now, it's a huge difference. I do have seasonal allergies as well. So this was beneficial to me in many ways. So the moment I got back inside, it was just clean, fresh air, and I wasn't coughing or any of those things. And so I highly recommend it. It's great all year round as well, and it senses literally congestion, buildup in the air. And we have since changed the filter or cleaned it out recently, so it's been about 3 weeks, but it is excellent, and it goes by square footage. So we have one that literally covers our entire downstairs, and it's just exceptional so far. It's like chef's kiss. It's great. Speaking of the outdoors and gardens, I have some updates to share with you guys. So ever since my husband and I moved to our current home, which has somewhat of a bigger space for gardening, I decided to create a mini one at the front of the house. We did have pre-existing coniferous trees there. They were super tall, leaking sap, and there was like a lot of critters and bugs in it. But the other thing was it was covering a huge portion of the windows, and it was bringing very little light in. So that was the first project we decided to tackle the moment we moved in. So we chopped those down, including this huge deciduous tree further down the lawn by the sidewalk, and it was just shedding so much, and it was hard to maintain that space. Plus, usually I think to cut down trees like that, you have to consult the city. But in Oshawa, rules are a little bit different. We didn't have to go through that process. We just called a professional and they took care of it. Anyways, at the side of the house, adjacent to where we removed the coniferous trees and wanted to build the new garden, we had this other section that had random plants. They were like ferns and dandelions. It wasn't well kept at all, so we treated that area. The following year, my husband built a nice circular cement design to kind of place the garden in, and I had my parents come over because they are gardening gods. Seriously, if you visit their place, it's like they have their own nursery. They planted marigolds, this white snowball bush, a couple of lilies, elephant ears, ferns to kind of fill up the gaps. Now, it was still needing something more. So I love hydrangeas, especially purple and blue ones. So I bought 3 6-inch plants and 1 22-inch one. And I had planted those in as well, making it kind of like the center of attention. The bigger plant grew and blossomed a couple of flowers, while the other 3 not so much. They budded, but nothing more from that. I even purchased roses because I love them a lot, and I got one in scarlet red and the other was like a coral pink, and I thought the perfect place would be across from the garden at the side of the house. Again, those plants were also little babies. They were 6 inches tall, and they gave a couple flowers each last year. This year though, I did a lot of research. Now, I'm not a botanist of any means, but I really dug deep, if you know what I'm saying, and tried to figure out things like what to do if your garden gets ant infested or fungus grows in it and your plants start dying, and of course how to prepare your hydrangeas with the correct pH levels and acidity so they turn out blue and purple year after year. Guys, I'm going to admit it was a lot of work and consistency, watering these plants, even in the heat, because they dry out quick. I've seen quite a few that wilted even this year after just watering it maybe 3 times a day even. So just have to really be on it if you want to make your garden eye-catching, So, with that said, guess what? 2 out of the 4 plants, the hydrangeas, turned purple. The other 2 were a bright pink color. But next year, I'll definitely get them to blue. I think it takes about a few years and a whole lot of patience to reach it to that level. And it is a goal of mine. So, let's see where it's at, and I'll report my findings to you. Our area, though, did get a lot of rain, so the plants grew super duper tall, including the creeping roses. They were bearing a lot of flowers, and they got so heavy that they began tipping over a bit. Now, I knew when I planted them last year that I wanted to get like this white trellis so they can like grow in different directions and give a cute little design. And but they weren't big enough, so I just held off on buying the trellis. And of course, I gave them plant food as well. I think that contributed to them growing much, much taller. And so I had to keep them tame. So then I went down and bought a trellis. It is expensive, guys. Like a white one is 2 times greater the price of a different color, like there was browns and grays. And also, majority of them were sold out at the local hardware stores. However, I did find a brown colored vinyl one, and I had my husband put it together, and we just painted it white, so a fraction of the cost. Then we installed it, and I organized the stems into the trellis, spreading it out, and it looked super clean and neat, and I'm very happy with it. Wait, there's more. The husband is now, I feel, the king of seeding. Like, our grass has come a long way. It went from patchy, burnt looking to fully an evergreen color. Again, it all came down to maintenance, and a few years makes a huge difference. Now that our porch was coming together, we wanted to hang out in the mornings before work and have a place where we can have our cup of coffee, kind of set the intentions for the day and just enjoy the quiet serenity before the hustle and bustle, really. So for his birthday, I got these beautiful double wooden chairs with cute cushions, and it was aesthetically pleasing, but a real vibe to the space, I added a couple of hanging baskets too, and it just transformed that area into kind of an oasis, really. Having said that, It's like you do one thing and then it's not enough. So the door looked bare. And I was like, I need a wreath. So I made a trip to Michael's and bought a 20-inch wreath, the ones that's made out of grapevine. It was ginormous, and I was going to create one. There were ready-made ones, but I was not going to pay $100 plus tax for one. At home, I had faux florals from my wedding left over, and I did kind of like an arrangement of whites, blues, pinks, and purples, keeping it kind of light and pastels. I also had hydrangeas, so it went with kind of that theme. I gotta say, I'm pretty frugal when it comes to these things. It took me about a solid afternoon, let's say about 5 hours, and it came out exactly how I wanted it and was totally worth the time because I'm gonna have it years and years to come. After I placed the wreath outside, guess what? Yep, another thing. Of course, right? Care to venture a guess? Okay, I'll just tell you. It was a welcome sign. Again, I looked online and there were many on Etsy actually selling for, I think like 100 plus shipping, and other stores had them, but they were much smaller in size, about 3 or 4 feet, and I was going for 5.5 to 6. And the color also wasn't the one that I was in search of or the style of writing I was going for. Again, I visited Michael's, the craft store, the following week and found a 6-foot white panel of wood for about $25. And then I picked up a stencil pack and spray paint. Everything ran me about $50, which is more than half of the cost. It was just down to the labor now. I went home and I searched around and had leftover wood stain from the staircase my husband and I recently had done. So I would basically cover the white background of the wooden panel with the stain and then use the white spray paint to get the letters on. Now here's where it went south. This was my first do-it-yourself fail. There was no recovery. I was frustrated. And I gotta say, I wasn't anticipating that because I was really excited. Normally, arts and crafts are fun and I'm great at it. No ego there, but I'm pretty confident. This one, though, it was tough. And so my husband had to take over and complete it for me. Basically, long story short, the spray paint bled onto the stained part of the wood, and it wasn't a clean finish. There was streaking and drip marks. And so my husband spent, I guess, like a week doing one letter at a time and waiting for it to dry completely, adding a couple more coats on top. And then I got him to drill a hole at the very top so I could, if I feel like it, put faux flowers through or like a bow. This way it would be interchangeable for every season. Like, how much more custom made can you get than that? Now our porch looks like something you'll find in a Martha Stewart catalog, but we love it so much. The only problem is the damn mosquito issue. They are so much more this year, and I'm looking to get deterrents. Maybe let me know if you guys have something that works, because my husband and I, we get bites all over our body, but him specifically I'm more concerned about because he might have some kind of allergies to them because he swells up a lot. I did see on TikTok though that Irish Spring bar soap helps if you like grate it and then sprinkle it where you're sitting. I might also get a zapper too. So hopefully those two will combat the problem. I mean, I really want to spend more time on the porch. We put in a lot of work, and I'll let you guys know if that hack ended up being simply splendid. So you can see definitely arts and crafts, these do-it-yourself projects are something that I adore. And I feel like it's something you appreciate more knowing that you put in that effort. So here's another story. I'm an Advent journaler since I was like, maybe 12? And let me tell you guys, I have pages and pages, books even, of my life that in the past few years I kind of sat down and revisited. Some of the things that I wrote is cringe. I was super embarrassed by them. I was like, I can't believe I talk like that. So again, as human beings, we evolve as we get older. And if you're not, then you should, because if you go back and revisit your life, you'll be like, oh, wow, I need to change. Seriously. Anyways, I don't know how many of you know about junk journaling, but it's a thing. It's like taking papers and all sorts of materials and sewing them and creating a book where you can write in. Aesthetically, it's very pleasing, and some people do themed ones. A TikToker I actually follow is Aisha Khan, and she is so talented. And while she also shows her followers techniques on how to put together your own signature pages, and her voice, oh my goodness, it's therapeutic. It's like ASMR for journalers. The different textures too, it's like sensory overload. It is incredible. So basically, I found that my journals, as I was flipping through the pages, they were a tad boring, and I wanted to make it exciting and incorporating some junk journaling in. So the reason for it is, in case one day someone picks up my journals on my bookshelf and goes through it, it will be like, wow. They'll be pulled in by all like the graphics, like stickers and lace and all kinds of textures. So let me say this. Journaling and junk journaling is now one of my fave things to do when I'm de-stressing. And being a first timer to this space, like, I'm blown away at the amount of creativity that kicks in while you're putting together your pages. It's like, you know how some people enjoy collecting things like stamps or marbles. I remember when I was young, I used to collect buttons and stickers. It's crazy to think, like, 20 years later, flash forward kind of thing, and I'm that person now. Although I haven't taken up knitting, because I know that also takes a lot of patience, but I have something to do that fills my time. So shout out to everyone who has a thing that they love doing. And I have to mention this because I'm pretty sure my mom's going to listen to this, but her thing is sewing pillows for her couch. And it makes me happy seeing how excited she gets after visiting her favorite shop, Fabricland, and the great deals that she gets. In fact, I think last year she sewed me 2 pillow covers for my bed, and I don't know what happened. I misplaced them, and it's been a solid 8 or 9 months, and every time I would visit her, she'd be like, "Did you put the pillowcases on?" But I somehow misplaced it. And so I was doing spring cleaning recently, and I found them. And I had to tell her. She was over the moon about it, and she's like, go take a picture immediately after you put the pillowcases on, which I did. And it actually fit incredibly well, despite her even having, the pillow in her hand. She did it by size, and I'm like, hey, Mom, you got a talent for sewing pillow covers. And that's her thing. I love it. I think in a world where we're always on the go or social media attached, it's super important to take a break and engage in something that brings you joy and allows you to think instead of scrolling through feeds. I can admit I find myself more and more posting with intent, and then after I share my content, I kind of leave that digital space, and I literally limit myself 15 minutes a day on any given app. And it's made a huge difference in my energy levels, and I for sure accomplish a lot on my to-do list throughout the day. So it's an adjustment, but I feel like it's definitely necessary. And if I'm being completely honest, it has brought me back to a much more simpler time, kind of like in the 90s, where social media was on such a small scale that even chatting with someone online would end abruptly when someone wanted to use the phone because the landline and internet were connected together. My question to you guys is, what are some of your favorite hobbies that you like to take on after you break away from social media? Leave your comments in the discussion feed below. And guys, that's a wrap for today. I'm sure some of you are waiting for a review of any movies I've seen in the last little while. Let me tell you, there's over like 40 plus films I've seen since my hiatus from Wake Up Toronto. And I think I just might do an exclusive show on the movies I've seen and if you should check it out or skip it. And majority of them are horror movies as well. So I think you guys will enjoy that segment and appreciate my recommendations. You know what? I think I'll do one in lieu of Halloween because fall is literally around the corner. Yeah, that's a good idea. Anyways, have a great remainder of the week and safe weekend. I'm off to the dentist for the regular teeth cleaning. Let's hope I'm cavity free. And then I have to go to the store to pick up groceries. Adulting never ends, right? Much love from me to you. Mwah. Suzanna, out.